Hello everyone. The first discussion in this discussion about pro-eugenics and the possible benefits of eugenics, we're going to take a look back at some of the historical significance of not necessarily the birth of eugenics, but the rise of the eugenics movement, and certain places where that took a strong foothold in history, namely in Sweden, where they took ideas from our American ideas about eugenics, which are very similar to the ideas that most people have around genetically modified organisms. As we are ourselves simply organisms, if we were to genetically modify ourselves, we would then be genetically modified organisms. And in this article by Bjorkman, we see that in selling eugenics, we see that it was mostly a political rise to fame that caused this movement to really gain traction. And then, in fact, it was this political kind of scientific, like political science movement that gained so much traction that impacted the eugenics movement within the Nazi Party. Now, moving forward, as eugenics and genetics started being expanded upon, we've started to realize that there are certain issues that have to do with complexity, where certain things just aren't possible. In a recent paper published in the American Biological Teacher by Cincini et al., they talk about how even something as simple as even something as simple as a single allele selection for or against something like albinism is nearly impossible to either guarantee or disguarantee. So having that said, one of the only safe ways we know how to use eugenics right now are things like screening for disabilities, which I don't really see, personally I don't see anything wrong with that, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Knowing the history of where things came from, really, if it wasn't for some of the things that took place in Oneida in upstate New York, here in America, and other things that took place in Sweden, and the need for people to be on cutting edge science, and the need to be a part of that political world for scientists at that time in Sweden, and then that transitioning into Nazis into the way the Nazis wanted to experiment with genetics and eugenics. Would we know what we know now already? Would we have made all of this progress? Now, granted, all of this progress in the field of eugenics and genetics, not all of it, but this particular arena came at a very high cost. So that's it for these topics, and I'll see you in the next video.